Good morning. It's Saturday, April 12th, and today may be a day that goes down in history in this country. And this is because of the tariff war that has been going on. And China today is striking back with 125% tariff on U.S. goods as what they call the trade war intensified. Can we afford to have a trade war? Is that what we really want to have in this country, is a trade war? Don't we have better things to do than worry about trade wars? I think we do, but that's not the way we're operating. Because China has retaliated against Donald Trump's reciprocal tariffs by raising its levies on U.S. goods to 125% from 84%. That's a huge jump, almost 50 points. And the Trump administration has confirmed on CNBC on Thursday that the U.S. tariff rate on China imports is now effectively 145%. These are the craziest numbers you could ever imagine. So China on Friday retaliated against President Trump's reciprocal tariffs by raising its levies on U.S. goods to 125%. Even if U.S. companies impose highest tariffs, it will no longer make economic sense and will become a joke in the history of the world's economy. That's what the ministry said in a statement according to CNBC. With tariff rates at the current level, there is no longer a market for U.S. goods imported into China. That's what the statement claimed. If the U.S. government continues to increase tariffs on China, Beijing will ignore them. The Trump administration confirmed on CNBC on Thursday that the U.S. tariff rate on Chinese imports is now effectively 145%. That's ridiculous. That's a number that's way out of sight. We can't even imagine the size of that number. Trump's latest executive order boosted reciprocal tariffs on Beijing to this 125%, stacked on top of a combined 20% fentanyl-related tariff imposed in February and in March. So we're imposing tariffs, and it seems to me just indiscriminately. We have no idea where this thing is going to end up. Are we going to be the tariff capital of the world? This is the end of the escalation in terms of bilateral tariff rates. Both China and the U.S. have sent clear messages. There's no point in raising tariffs further. And that's what Slaves Lang, president and chief economist at the Pinpoint Asset Management Company, claimed. The next step would be to evaluate the damage to economic activities in the U.S. and in China. That's what Zhang said again, adding there is no sign that the two governments would start negotiation to avoid a major disruption in the global supply chain. Well, if the two biggest nations in the world start fighting with one another about tariffs and about monies and everything, where does that leave us and where does that leave China? So these new rounds of retaliatory measures have Beijing announcing that further export control measures or widening its so-called unreliable entry list with the addition of American firms would cause them further restrictions while trying to operate in China. So are American firms going to be removed from the Chinese economy? Can American firms afford to not have Chinese customers? Who knows? But a spokesperson of China's Commerce Ministry, he reiterated that Beijing is open to negotiate with the U.S. on equal footing. But is Donald Trump willing to negotiate? Who knows? There are hopes for a U.S.-China deal to resolve the trade tension. But those hopes have faded because Beijing has been hitting back in the last week or so in these tit-for-tat duties on American goods and wide-ranging restrictions on U.S. businesses. And it's unfortunate that the Chinese actually don't want to come and negotiate because they are the worst offenders of international trading system. And that's what the U.S. Secretary Scott Bessent told Fox News. They have the most imbalanced economy in the history of the modern world. And I can tell you that escalation is a loser for them. And maybe he's right and maybe he's wrong, but this is a terrible, terrible situation to put our country in. It's like a turf war between China and the U.S., both of whom are going to suffer because of this crazy nonsense with the tariffs and everything. So Chinese exports to the U.S. account for only 3 percentage points of the China's global GDP. But it's still an important impact. It still has a significant impact on employment. They estimate that between 10 and 20 million workers in China are involved with U.S.-bound businesses. So this situation between China and the U.S. has to be reconciled in some way, shape, or form because both countries are going to suffer from this idiocy. So I leave you with this crazy situation, with the tariffs and the percentages and everything. It's absolutely a reckless economic situation, and it needs to be reconciled. So can two major countries sit down in some dark corner and straighten this mess out? I hope so. Have a great day. Bye.